Let's roll. Okay. I got to admit something I did. I had CBJ 1-0 on this board right here. I had my Columbus Blue Jackets white jersey on and hat. And then it didn't turn out the way I thought it was going to, so I'm kind of stuck. We'll get to that. We'll talk about what I did and, the hockey powers. And I got to apologize to Columbus fans straight up. I used my powers apparently for evil tonight. Not intentionally. Now, to start off the game, Noel Acciari scores from McAvoy. It's a shorthanded goal. And Boston controls the first period. But you get the feeling that, especially when they're out shooting them 10-1 in that first period, that the Blue Jackets probably rusty from having 9 days off. And Boston jumped on that, but they only had the one goal. So only one goal in that first period. They got it. They outshot them 14-4, and I thought, boy howdy. They outshoot them 14-4. They're only up 1-0. We'll see what happens. Columbus 0-2 in the power play in that period. Boston 0-1. Second period. The Jackets were definitely better in the second period. And Anderson hits a post as well, which felt like a key moment for me, and I had no idea how close this was going to be in the end, but since it was a 1-0 game at the time, I thought, yeah, I'll put on the board that he hit the post. Columbus does outshoot Boston in the second period by a final of 10-6. So second period shots are 10-6. I'm still a little shaky. Columbus 0-2 on that second period, and Boston 0-2. In the entire first round against Tampa, Columbus was only shorthanded 6 times. Now, the reason for that, I think, is simple. Tampa really didn't challenge them. The first period of Game 1, they scored 3, and then after that, Tampa was kind of in a haze until the third period of Game 4, where they're like, oh, what? Uh-oh. And that's kind of, now, that does say a lot about the way Columbus was playing. And that's the bad part, is when you talk about a team that loses, who's a favorite, it does make it sound like you're diminishing what the underdog did. And in this case, this is a tremendous team in Columbus. I think this series is going to be a long one. Third period, Jenner got a penalty, and the Blue Jackets weren't happy about it. And I understand why the Blue Jackets weren't happy about it, to be honest. The Bruins were doing a lot of little things in this game to get under the skin of the Columbus Blue Jackets. So a foe they're unfamiliar with, and I thought Marchand was being a little more of a, I don't want to say rat, but you guys know what I mean. He had some of that sandpaper in his game that I didn't really see against Toronto, not to this extent. And, Chara seemed to be engaging quite a bit as well. And it feels like they're trying to impose their will a little bit on Columbus. Columbus, I thought, had some pretty good pushback as well, especially, like I said, for a team that has been off for so long. And I had to put on the board great penalty kill by the Jackets. So the Blue Jackets had a fantastic penalty kill. And then I wrote on the board, I hate one-goal games. And I really do. I can't stand it when I'm watching a game and it's this close. The only goal was in the first, it's the third period, and then my fears are realized. First, it's Riley Nash. I loved you, Riley, when you were a Boston Bruin, and I'm not sure why, as a member of Columbus, you want to do this. But, he gets a goal, and Jones and Jenner with the assists. And then it's 13 seconds later. Dubois scores. At least it looked like it went off Dubois. At the time I'm looking at this, I think they've still... Did they change it? Yeah, they changed it to Dubois. Because originally they gave it to Panarin, and they gave Dubois and Jones the assists. But it was clearly a goal that went in off Pierre-Luc Dubois. So he is already showing signs that he is going to continue where he left off in Game 4 against Tampa. And if he gets things going, look out. So it's 2-1 for Columbus at 13 seconds. And I have to say this. Panarin blasting that from the point right after they scored to tie it, that was gorgeous. And I say that as a fan of the Bruins, that was perfect. When you've scored a goal to get through that goaltender, yeah, fire it as hard as you can at the net right away, right after. You never know, good things can happen like that. Both of these goals were deflections. Tuukka had no chance at either of them. And then on the board I write, are the Bruins getting tired as the Jackets pick it up? So was this a matter of the Bruins, who played a 7-game series against Toronto, played 2 nights ago, or were they getting tired? Was this where Columbus was going to start picking it up? Charlie Coyle then scores from Johansson and Krug with 4:37 left in the third period. And, it really hyped up the crowd, and all I could think was, great, now I can't watch the start of the Dallas game. Thankfully, at the time I'm recording this, St. Louis is beating Dallas, and I'm not feeling good about Dallas's chances. But then again, I was wearing a Columbus jersey after the Dubois goal. So then Charlie Coyle scores, and I'm standing in a Columbus jersey, and I'm thinking, now what do I do? They're going into overtime. Do I leave the Columbus jersey on? Like, my wife's out shopping, and I texted her, what do I do? And she just, LOL. Do I leave Columbus on? LOL. That doesn't help me. So I left it on. Now, in the overtime, the disturbing thing that comes out in the overtime, Krejci was not on the bench at a part of that overtime. I didn't hear he came back during the overtime. And then I got nervous because the Bruins were really overpassing. And this is something you can do at home quite often. I think the Toronto Maple Leafs suffered from this during the regular season. I know the Canucks have done it before too, where you pass too much. You're looking for that really pretty play rather than just throw it at the goal and everybody go in there and you try to get a greasy one. So I was nervous about the overpassing. I thought McAvoy had a good game. I thought Krug had a good game. And Grzelcyk. The word's out that Grzelcyk's a pretty good defenseman. And then Charlie Coyle scores the second of the game. He scores it in overtime from Johansson and Heinen. And as I've been saying the whole time, that trade of Charlie Coyle for Ryan Donato, I couldn't be more of a supporter of it. Fine. I'm sure there are people that are going to say, yeah, no, Shannon hasn't been a supporter of that trade. And I wasn't at the time, but I have to admit, tonight he earned his paycheck. He was fantastic. It goes without saying that Bobrovsky kept this close when Boston had control of the play. They outshot Columbus 13-7 in the third. I didn't think the shots fully indicated the play in the third period, though. Towards the end, Boston really picked it up, but I thought Nashville. I see Nash there, right? So Columbus, I thought Columbus played very well in the middle part of the third period, and they definitely outplayed the Bruins in the second. In the overtime, Boston outshoots them 4-1. Bobrovsky's the only reason this thing's tied and going into overtime. He saves 34 out of 37. On the Boston side, Tuukka Rask with 20 saves on 22 shots. And the winners in overtime, the Boston Bruins, who were up 1-0. This was the 11th overtime game of this year's playoffs. Last year, we only had 10. So lots of overtime. If you think it feels like there's a lot more overtime than usual, you're not wrong. So next up, of course, tonight is Dallas and St. Louis. I get a funny feeling that, let me see, as I'm recording this, yeah, it's still 1-0 Blues on a nice goal by Fabry. You know, when the guys that I like start scoring goals against teams that I like, I feel torn. Because I'm like, yes, I knew he could do, why is he doing it tonight? Anyways, there you go. Riley Nash and Dubois. Coyle with 2, Achari with another. None of the big guns on the board for Boston, and they get a win here. Now they'll be going for that game 2 on Saturday, which is at 5 o'clock my time, 8 o'clock Eastern, and we'll see whether or not they can take a 2-0 lead, or if Columbus is going to come back and win one. For those that were saying Columbus in 4 in the video I did previewing the series, nope. These playoffs are unpredictable. I understand why Columbus fans were all hyped up, thinking they could sweep it, and they'll just change it to Columbus in 5. And I respect that. Hopefully, we're still friends after this game. I understand there's going to be people like, hey, Boston plays... Yeah, they're doing that again. They didn't do it so much against Toronto from games 3 to 7, but it kind of felt like they were... And maybe it's because they knew that Columbus had all that time off and they were trying to throw them off their game. Whatever happens from here, we'll see. But it's a win for tonight. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below, as always. I'm going to go watch Dallas and St. Louis now. It's that game you can see like a sliver of right here. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happen upon this channel. Very, very popular to do that right now. I'm blown away by going over 85,000 subscribers. And I would like to thank PumaDog95, Austin McKnight, and Chang Mang Friedman. They're in the shout-out tier on Patreon, so I figured why not do it in a review video where I know a lot of people are going to see it. Thank you guys for all your support, and thank you guys for watching, and I'll talk to you again soon.